The time is 10:48. Welcome to Berea. I'm here with
Fems.
Louis.
You're supposed to say season 5 episode. Season 5 episode.
Episode what then?
5, I think.
Is it?
Yeah, it's 5. Episode 5. Yeah.
So 5 out of 5. 5 out of 5. I'm
yeah.
actually watching Walking Dead. I'm on episode 5 as well. Season 5.
I can't.
Season 5, episode 9.
I can't. That's demonic. We should have talked about that in our episode, Christian Liberty episode.
Don't mind me.
I don't think Christian should be watching Walking Dead.
Walking Dead is so, it's actually a good depiction of man's depravity. So is Breaking Bad.
Get out here.
I've had a conversation with a pastor about Breaking Bad. And
Wow.
we agree Breaking Bad is actually, in a very, very intense way, communicates depravity of man. How man starts from like here with an idea.
That's a good shot.
No, read. It's like
That's a good shot.
Like James, how the sort of like how the journey of sin from to destruction, bro. If you watch Breaking,
I love Breaking Bad. Breaking Bad's like top 2 favorite series.
That gives me a good excuse to watch it again.
I watched it 3 times. I can't watch it. I can't do it again. Though. I think the 3rd time was
too much.
It's too much.
Yeah.
I've only watched it once all
It's
the way
heavy.
through, but I've tried to watch it twice, many other times. I never get to the end. So my wife hasn't watched it before, so I'm trying to watch it with her. It gives me an
It's
excuse to
heavy
watch
though,
it.
man. Is she into heavy? That's heavy.
She's not. That's what I'm saying. I have to. My wife, yeah. I have to push with her.
There's a few things that me and my wife like. There's a few things we can watch together. Breaking Bad isn't one of them.
Yeah, exactly. I
I think we did the first one, but then she was like,
Yeah, because it's a slow
It's a
burner.
slow burner.
It's a
First
slow
episode,
burner as well.
first season is a slow burner.
First is a slow burner. It's just so intense. I'm usually listening to podcasts when I'm driving.
We haven't introduced
in the
Louis, by the way.
bathroom. It's coming when
sorry.
I'm bathing. So I'm just, for the viewers, making them feel comfortable. Wherever you're jumping in the whip, putting on the podcast. Welcome.
Welcome.
In the shower, putting on the iPad and the thing before you get a thing.
Put the
Welcome.
iPad in the shower.
I put my iPad on the sink.
Do you know what? Sorry to go
Yeah,
on a
me.
tangent, but I broke my phone like that one time. I put my phone, so I was
And
listening
it
to
dropped in
something,
the
and I put a phone, and no, it dropped in the shower. I just ruined my phone. This is years
Yeah,
ago.
but you're hype, bro. Anything
I know, I'm
drops
telling
from
you.
wherever you're flipping.
Well, that's on my screen's cracked all the time, bro. Because it's dropping from a different. Anyway, sorry.
It's mad how Femi just jumped on the podcast yesterday for the first time. He's got friends around already.
I said yesterday.
Man's taking liberties.
I said yesterday. I've been here.
Man just jumped on the pod yesterday.
I've been here.
Now he's invited his friends.
Who told you he's my friend, number one? He's my brother in Christ.
That's even better, no?
Yeah.
Oh my Femi. But welcome Louis.
Thank you.
Louis, my question for anyone that comes on. You're a mastermind.
Oh,
You man asked Zoe. Thank you. That's a very good question.
Yeah, we thought of you, man.
Louis, you're a mastermind. Mastermind is 2 rounds. Mary got it wrong. It's the other way around, by the way. It's specialty, then general knowledge.
Oh, yeah, you're
We
right.
forgive you.
I did notice that last episode.
Mary, we forgive you. We forgive you. We want to cover your sins. Louis, you're a mastermind. What's your specialist knowledge round?
So many top now, joking.
West Ham.
He's got jokes. I'd say, football and NBA. I'll play it safe. Football and NBA.
No, you got to be more specific because football is general, bro.
too general,
That's
yeah.
Okay.
and NBA is huge as well.
Okay. So we'll say the Premier League.
Era? Is there an era in particular?
We'll go from 1998 to 2008. I'd say.
Who won the league in 2008?
United.
Oh, good to know. Okay. Just
You see how quickly I answered?
just wanted to
that?
test the knowledge.
who won it the year after?
Ooh, do I even know that?
2009.
Oh, we won it again.
United.
We won it again.
I was just
Yeah,
mad.
sorry. Yeah. We won it
Yeah,
again.
sorry.
Got United fans here.
But Louis, good to have you, man.
Likewise. Shout out to you guys. You guys record so late. I like the diligence.
Bro, like I don't know why we call so late.
It's a struggle. I'm not gonna lie to you.
Yeah. We record super late. But good morning, afternoon, whatever time you listening to this.
Shout out
In
to you
your
guys.
home, wherever. But on this episode, Mary come with us. She's probably enjoying life somewhere.
As usual.
That's a fact.
With that Black Berea money.
That's a
I've
big
been
fact.
I've been saying from my first ever episode, Mary is spending that Black Berea money. I don't know where she's getting the money from. I don't know
Mary,
how
we
she's got
need to see
access to their account.
receipts. We need to see receipts so we can
But she's
expense these
spending
things.
holidays, concerts. She's about, man. New
Mary,
laptop.
Mary, enjoy yourself.
New
Enjoy
laptop.
yourself. Don't
I swear
worry.
she's got new car as well.
Got new,
deserves
rims,
it.
got new rims as well. I see Mary.
Yeah, new rims. What, spinners.
BB on the BB. You're the head of the seats. BB.
BB, all leather.
I've seen that, fam.
Mary's worked hard. She deserves it.
I'll move, man.
It is.
Shout out to Mary.
Anyway, bro.
Alright.
Man's already jumping chatting rubbish. Anyway.
Trying to secure my spot. boy.
Nah, that's strategic. But this one, we're doing Ask BB. Ask BB. So people have sent in stuff for us to talk through. an answer. So it's a bit like a hot fire round, I guess, but like maybe things we can like delve in deep on. Maybe some things we want to just, as I heard a guy on a podcast today, plant your flag. Let's plant our flag here. And they start talking about things in detail. I thought, I want to take that.
You what? That's what Americans are just unnecessarily
sounds like a
patriotic.
I don't mind.
Like, what's the flag? got to do
No.
with
It was
anything?
more like metaphorical as to like, let's put a pin. Let's like.
Yeah, but why is that the metaphor?
Let's deep dive.
Why is that? Why is planting a flag the metaphor? It's because they love their flags.
You got a problem with Americans.
I do, you know. Sorry,
You got American listeners.
sorry,
probably,
Americans.
you know.
Sorry, I love Americans. What are you talking about?
I think we're in an era though, because it used to be we're gonna segue into this topic. You don't hear that much anymore.
Yeah,
I haven't heard that for you guys this season. I haven't heard that.
Segue. That's a good one.
That's a
public
work meeting chat.
Yeah, that's a throwback right there.
Anyway,
Plant my flag.
first question is, it's a long like statement, but I'm just gonna just simplify it. Essentially, Christian view on climate change and fast fashion. So I'll read some part of it. They're super big fans, so shout out to you. Really appreciate that. They said it's been a massive lifesaver, Black Berea podcast. They exist in an incredibly faithful but very white middle class Christian environment. And they want us to have a conversation about whether or not we should be thinking about the climate crisis, fast fashion, all of that. So it's like things pertaining to, I guess, like sustainability, probably environmentalism. Super fan. And so I guess the last part is something they've been thinking on, should be praying about it more. But how can we be a good steward of such things such as the earth and our resources? So general principles, man. Then what we think when we hear climate change, fast fashion, sustainability.
Should we define fast fashion very quickly?
Yeah, please.
Louis, go on.
Please.
No, shall we? As in one of you guys define.
Oh, yeah.
fast fashion.
Well, my fashion's slow because I don't do fast.
My fashion is
My
definitely
fashion
slow.
is snow, please.
Thank God, I mean, viewers, you see us on camera. Do we have fast fashion?
I think what comes to mind is I won't say the brands, but I'm thinking of particular brands that you see their billboards and advertisements on the tube. Usually targeted at women. I think I would say when I see these brands, and like I think the whole the like I don't know principle, whatever the word behind it is, that these clothes get the cycles are quite quick in terms of what's in fashion and what's in vogue and what's in brand.
Got you.
And so I know with that there's a whole like obviously controversy about how these clothes, when they're out of fashion, out of cycle, are disposed of, and the wastage and the landfill and the effect on the environment, and how these tend to be landfills in areas of the world where it impacts those from low economic backgrounds or developing nations. All that stuff, but yeah, it's like it's the quick cycle, So I know that's probably a really rough definition, but I think
That makes sense.
Yeah, I was thinking more Canada Goose. I think they had they used to do protests outside the building and whatnot.
What was it? Because they were hurting animals.
I don't know if it falls along those lines.
I don't know. I can't afford that.
That would probably fall into the lines. It wouldn't fall into the lines of climate change, though. Isn't that just more like animal rights?
But it's like it's like ways to do, isn't it? I guess.
But no, I'm saying for the people that protest outside Canada Goose, is that more about the fact that they're
actually using gooses?
You're right. Yeah, it's an animal issue.
You said gooses.
Gooses. Mama.
Geese.
Gooses.
Canada geese. Yeah.
So climate change. Should Christians? What is that for climate change? Please. Do anyone do science?
I'm not the one to answer that question.
Yeah, I mean, science was a long time ago, GCSE science, but I'm thinking of the extent to which our actions have an impact on global warming.
Yeah.
For example, I saw something in the news last week how they said something like by 2027 we would have passed, I think, a 1.5 degree kind of threshold or whatever.
Yeah.
But I guess to kick it off, I think, so for me, it's two things. Number one, I think to myself, okay, cool, like this world is passing away anyway, who cares?
Yeah, no,
do what you need to do.
Yeah.
Live the way you need to live. There's going to be a new world for us one day where we don't have to worry about climate change. It's going to be perfect. But then at the same time, we as Christians have like a duty of care in the world that we live in. So you even go back to like the Garden of Eden. Adam and Eve had a duty of care in where they were. And I think we've got a similar duty of care where we are now.
Yeah, 100%.
So as much as like, okay, this world is passing away. It's not going to be here forever. At the same time, it's like I can't be completely fatalistic because, like I got to think about the next generation. I got to think about just what we've been given. Generally. So yeah, I try and maintain a balance. Like I remember when I first became a Christian, I started thinking about like the earth. I started littering, and I thought to myself, "Ooh, I feel different about littering now." Like, wow, this is God.
Convictions,
This is,
yeah.
I feel a bit
Christian
convicted.
Do you believe in climate change?
Yeah, I guess. I guess the world is changing. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't want to go into too much scientific background because I'll leave that to Louis. But
As much as I know, by the way.
I guess so. Yeah.
Like, is there a reason for Christians to not like believe it's happening?
I know a lot of Christians don't believe it's happening and believe like it's all conspiracy and stuff like that. Yeah. But I just don't. I don't understand the basis to think why it would be conspiracy. Right. I would love to hear the argument. I've never heard like a super convincing argument. I've heard a couple arguments here and there, like like the world goes through cycles and stuff like that. I've heard little bits and pieces. I know climate change is not something I've paid much attention to, if I'm being honest. But the little bits and pieces I've heard people that say they don't believe in it. Obviously, majority of people do believe. In some sense, the world is changing, and in some sense, that's due to our actions. So I don't know if it's helpful to ignore that, and I don't understand why we would. But I do think I am, as I've just said, like I am probably more of the things like kind of how Louis started, whereas I don't really like. It's not something that's concerning me,
right?
And I like the whole idea that the world is perishing anyway, and this is not our home in a sense. So yeah, I think I've probably taken that, and just like it's just long. Like you see people like what's her name, Greta Thunberg. She's not a kid anymore. She's grown now, isn't it?
No, I think she's still a kid.
She's still a kid.
She started
She's
early.
still a teen.
She started,
it
was a school movement. Don't go to school on Friday.
So she's not even a big woman yet. Nah. Okay, fair enough. But
influential though, she's done.
She is influential. Really? Yeah. So when you see people like Greta Thunberg, or you see like, I even saw a story the other day about protesters.
Just the oil.
Yeah, someone got pushed over or something like that, and they got a charge or whatever. And so that kind of stuff annoys you, and it's easy to be like reactive to that. Like, oh my gosh, here these people come again. Here Greta comes again. Here these protest group come again, and how annoying and how inconvenient they can come across. But I don't think that should take away our overall concern about how we steward the earth or the things that we have in the earth that we're living in. I think also like, just as Christians, we have a duty to obey the laws of the land as well, especially if they're not like causing us to sin or causing us to do any harm to others. And you know, if the laws of the land that we're living in are saying recycle or just be aware of emissions and all these other things that we need to do, like why not? I can't think of a Christian standpoint to say why we wouldn't, even if you weren't like a complete believer in climate change. If the society and the laws around us are encouraging us to do so, I don't see a strong enough argument to say why we should go against that. What do you think, Ezra?
Yeah, I believe in climate change. I don't think you need to like. I do agree. You need to probably have like a sort of understanding roughly, but I don't honestly about anything ecological science. But I think there's a lot out there that seems to suggest there's actually like empirical reason that this exists. Like people can measure, see those who know. And you're right. Like I'm not of the school where I'm automatically going to think, even though it looks real, there must be a hidden agenda as to why they want us to act a different way, and it's all a part of a whatever. I don't really subscribe to that. So yeah, there's nothing to suggest that it's not real. And I think that I heard a really good comment from a Christian who's actually involved in like conservationism stuff, based in like Malaysia, and he sort of attached the second greatest commandment that Christ gives, right? When asked the question, so loving your neighbor as yourself. How can you love your neighbor? Or rather, loving your neighbor is also expressed by loving and taking care of the earth. Because we share this resource, right? And so whether it's food, whether it's space, whether it's whatever, I'm going to treat that in a way that thinks of others as well. So whether I was a farmer, maybe that's more obvious, right? Or whether I'm I don't know, even as a neighbor, right? Like, if I have a bit of land and my neighbor next to me is starving, I'll try and maybe, I don't know, provide provision for him or her. because it's something in my faith that requires me to share what I have. And yeah, that means also, I guess, treating the earth in a way that we can all live and benefit and survive and be nourished, because human life is important, and if we need food to eat, we need to make sure the world is able to produce food. But then there's the flip side. I'm because you can make it a god, and
that's what I was going to speak
protesters and that probably sometimes it is a religion. It is like everything is the earth, and there's no this one, like the whole the very witty tagline I saw on like placards. There's no planet B. Well, actually, there is another one. There's a world to come. Like, so that goes to the heart of like where there is a line between Christian approach and unbelievers approach. But I do agree. No, like look after the earth. We're called to be stewards. Man is called to have dominion over the earth. So we should use our like power well and not overuse, not waste. I think even when it's like sins of gluttony, you might even say, right? What we take from the earth, let it be enough for yourself and not fueled by greed.
Leave that in.
We were told by our creative director to have texture, so that helps. But yeah, so I'm from that perspective.
Yeah,
my thoughts are not developed enough. In like, I've heard arguments about as Christians, it's like Second Peter when it talks about this earth and destruction of this earth and the new earth. Is it talking about this earth like being having like a facelift, or like a totally new earth? So does whatever view you have determine how you treat the current earth? My thoughts not developed enough to even. But there's levels where you can get to on that. But even despite that, I still think, look, right now we're sharing this resource. I think it reflects good Christian living to treat you well as best you can, but not make it a god, and recognize it will be destroyed whatever way, whether it's a new earth or this is like transformed. That's my take. Fast fashion, I don't know. I ain't got fast fashion. Similarly, is waste. Like, look, I guess like, if it's affecting people if the wastage of those clothes are affecting communities,
I think the key is just to be responsible, isn't it?
Yeah,
responsible. Not create a god, not create a religion.
Yeah,
not because it can get quite like doomsday in it. Like, oh my gosh, the world's coming to an end. I don't think that's the attitude that we need to have as Christians. And we have a greater hope regardless of the world coming to an end anyway. But you can, all of that stuff, whether it be fashion, I think that's something that we could look at individually and just think, like you kind of what you were saying there, Jim, just be responsible. Do we live in means of want and desire or need when it comes to fashion, when it comes to food, when it comes to loads of different things, especially in like the West where, majority of us are blessed with an abundance of things. How does that reflect in our lifestyle? Like, do we live like the rest of the world in that sense, or do we have like a Christian responsibility to, how we treat things like fashion, waste, all that stuff?
Because fast fashion, you can. I think there's what probably more concerns me, or like comes to mind when I think of fast fashion, is I guess what's motivating it. Is it if it's a desire, like you have to check yourself. Am I desiring to just be on brand every time and on trend all the time? My motivation is just to look good and it's in my appearance. Then that is obviously a concern. And fast fashion, sadly, probably helps to fuel that. Do you know what I mean?
There's often a kind of discourse when things happen, when natural disasters happen, like hurricanes, to just attribute that straight away to climate change. Yeah. So, for example, we got hurricane season every year from November to, from June to November, in like the Caribbean or whatever. And a lot of the times it's because of what we're doing in the world. Right. But then there's a part of me that thinks a lot of these things also happen in biblical times, and we don't see much conversation of like,
this could be God's judgment.
That's what I'm saying. So I think there are things are going to happen regardless of what we do, and like you were saying, Fems, I think we just need to be responsible. And just we have a duty of care where we are.
I like that. I like that.
Hopefully that answers your question in some sense.
Hopefully.
Listener.
Now it's up to you, man, how you want to take this one. It's more of a suggestion of a podcast topic than a question. But it reads as, I think a really good idea I think a really good one, I suspect podcast, is the idea of retribution, karma, and mercy. That's my 3 big themes.
Karma and mercy. Definitions.
Yeah,
Let's start with
define
that.
them first.
Let's start with that. How about that? Retribution. Jim, go.
One each. Retribution. Punishment for wrongdoing.
Yeah.
Keep it boom.
Keep it nice and simple.
It was karma.
Karma. Do good things and good things will happen back to you. Yeah. Do bad things will happen to you. My name is L. My name is L.
I've heard of that. Is that a series?
Yeah, it's a show. Never mind. Some people will get that reference. Some people will.
But that went over my head.
It was a TV show back in the day. I say back in the day, it wasn't that long ago, about this guy that had a list of good things that he wanted to do because he had done loads of bad things in the past and he was trying to make up for it. Basically, long story short.
Yeah. Karma has is it Hindu roots or
Hindu,
Buddhist
roots?
Yeah, there we go. Buddhist roots. Yeah. And mercy, the idea of not giving someone what they deserve. So the punishment that they deserve, not giving them that punishment.
So what's the question?
So I mean, it's like I really think a good podcast basically is an idea of retribution, karma, and mercy. I guess maybe we have, I don't know what comes to, I guess, okay, as Christians, retribution, how does that sit in Christianity?
As in us as Christians delivering retribution,
delivering retribution. I don't know, Femi,
or God on our behalf
as a concept. How does it align with Christianity? If there is a place for retribution in Christianity, or is it?
That's tough. That's really tough. Louis?
Retribution. So we've said retribution is the idea of punishment, right?
Yeah.
So I guess the idea, if we think about punishment in general, we think of judgment.
Yeah.
So the idea that if you sin against God and you are unrepentant, then there will be judgment. So I guess that's the retribution for someone that is living in unrepentant sin for their whole life.
But do we as Christians have a place in delivering retribution? Is that even the right word?
If that's the question, then we've got a conversation.
Yeah, do we? It's funny because I said I wanted to talk about this on the pod anyway, but so I can link it in. But some of you listeners would have seen this whole young Mizzy.
I don't, by the way. I was really like,
Edgem actually had no idea what we were talking about, which is interesting. But young Mizzy is this kid that walked into. He's a prankster. I've seen him before, even all of this hype. When I'd seen him on TikTok and stuff like that doing pranks, I never actually liked it. Like I didn't like a lot of the pranks that he was doing. I never really watched. I always skipped his videos when I saw it because I was thinking, why are you doing that?
So you've known about him for a while then?
I've seen his face, so I never knew what his name was until the whole hoo-ha. But I'd seen him. So when the whole stuff with controversy came up, I was like, I've seen this guy's face on social media before. But long story short, one of his latest pranks, he goes into someone's house. Walks into someone's house like not knowing, like the people that own the house don't know who he is. He's just walked in, he's doing madness. I heard he stole a dog or he took the dog. I don't know.
He stole someone's dog.
Stole someone's dog or something like that. Crazy stuff that he was doing, right? So there's been a lot of backlash, massive backlash. He's been banned from social media. He got charged by the police. He was actually on the run, or they were looking for him initially. And then when they finally caught up to him, he got charged by the police. Just a charge, got a fine, £400 fine. And there's just been more backlash. He ended up on Piers Morgan as the time of recording. That was yesterday night. And I guess, so my first thoughts in terms of linking it to retribution is, I guess my thought towards it is, when is justice served? Because a lot of people were like, oh, he deserved prison time. And people are like, oh yeah, and I used the word of crucifying. That might have been a strong word to use, but I was like, but my point was, when does it stop? Like, this is an 18-year-old kid, and the whole world or the whole country is consistently just placing judgment on this kid. And it's like, whatever judgment comes, it's not enough. It's not enough that you got charged by the police. It's not enough that you got fined. It's not enough that Piers Morgan ripped him up on thing. It's like, it has to be more. It has to be more.
He held his own, by the way.
Yeah, to be fair. So it's like, linking it to retribution, it's like we become the judge, jury, and executioner. And like, as Christians, I guess, how do we, and I guess that links to mercy as well a little bit. Like, how do we even look at a situation like that?
Yeah, I like that. And I think it just shows situations like that. I know it's another situation involving a footballer and a cat, where like everyone
Shout out West Ham,
where everyone seemed to like be quite clear as to like the punishment that person deserved, and it's most like that in society where I always like I'm so fascinated by those like situations, those sort of waves of sort of social consciousness where everyone seems to be of the same mind on a moral issue. You're thinking of even like, government and like COVID parties and where everyone was like right and wrong as clear as day. And sometimes the world isn't always that convinced in different situations, but there's some situations where everyone seems to be quite. And it's funny because that shows that there is something in man which can discern right and wrong, even in a progressive day as this. There are situations that might be decreasing where we are more clear as to what's right and wrong, but there still are situations where it causes a strong feeling of right and wrong.
Good point.
And I think it helps when you're witnessing and when you're even just like talking about the gospel, because it's hard to disagree that if someone has done wrong to someone who is innocent, that person deserves judgment, such as we before God. And so God has to then show us mercy for us to even have a chance. And then it's obviously up to them if they, it's work of the Spirit that they will believe. But that concept alone is quite clear. And even now, human beings, there's something in how they're wired that justice and, morality express itself. And it can't be like, it can't be fully taken away. I don't think it ever can be fully taken away, no matter how progressive a period is.
There's a moral compass there, isn't it?
It's a moral compass. Yeah. And it helps even with, I can't lie, even I'm thinking of, I was as a dad, child rearing, sometimes I rest in the comfort that my son knows, no matter if he's, even though he might not be expressing it, something inside him knows what's right and wrong, even if I can't express it properly. And that's like even helpful. I think it's such a crazy, it's such a crazy, that concept. That's retribution, right? We're talking about.
Yeah,
Retribution.
I guess so.
Yeah.
Like karma. Is there such thing as karma? Does that fit in any way with the Christian worldview?
Do you know what's funny? Karma's interesting because I think we were saying it has Buddhist roots, right?
Yeah.
Right. So I think when we think of karma today, and especially the conversations I've had with people and stuff, we think of karma in a sense that, okay, yeah, fair enough. If you do something's going to come back to you, whether it's good or bad. And a lot of the times it's like in this life. So if something's happened to someone, that's the karma getting them back for what they did 7 years ago. But the actual concept of karma, a lot of it was actually to do with the next life. The idea of reincarnation. If someone comes back or whatever, then
they're not even applying it correctly.
That's what I'm saying. So a lot of the times the application of karma is more like it's all about now, what happens now in this life. But yeah, in terms of the Christian life, I don't know. I mean, the concept of reaping what you sow is a little bit similar.
Galatians. There's Galatians. You talk about in good time you reap the harvest. Good works. Yeah.
So there's
And how is it distinct then from karma, if it is?
Good question, Femi. How's it distinct from karma?
I don't know in terms of reaping what you sow, but I guess parts of the idea of karma can be not anti-Christian, but in a sense. So the idea that if I do good is going to come back to me isn't completely wrong in all senses. Because obviously there's consequences to our actions, even if you take spirituality out of it or even belief out of it. Like there's consequences to actions. If I do good things, certain good things, there will be a good positive response from that. Just logically or rational. Or if I do bad things, like walk into someone's house, bad things might come from it. It's like when people say, speaking things to existence. Like
in the universe.
So it's
manifested.
Like
manifested.
There's an element where you could argue for speaking into things into existence purely by saying, look, if I speak this thing, if I say this thing enough, that might change my attitude towards it, which could then mean I might end up doing that thing more, blah, blah, blah. And it's almost in a sense like you are speaking it to existence. If you understand. So I'm not advocating for the idea of speaking things to existence. What I'm trying to say is there's an element of even karma, quote unquote, where if you do good things will come. So
if I study for an exam, I'm gonna get like good results. You're saying things like that. Practical. But what about them man that are saying this time next year, this job?
I don't know. Would you put that under the karma umbrella?
That's speaking to existence.
Yeah.
So if you were to use it, that speaking into existence argument, I would say I don't want to get into that. I don't want to get into that conversation specifically. What
Why not?
Because that's a whole other podcast. But what I would say about karma, though, is I think there's an element of karma that is almost anti-Christian in the sense that actually our good works are like filthy rags.
Yeah.
And actually the mercy that we spoke about in this question is actually what is the powerful thing. That fact that God, despite our nature, despite our sinfulness, is merciful on us, and good things are able to happen to us despite the fact that we were sinners. As opposed to because we did loads of good things, now God is blessing us, or the universe or whatever you believe in is blessing us. So I think that element of karma is almost anti-Christian, because actually or anti the gospel anyway, in terms of what we actually believe in, and also the fact that, you know, we can sin and still be reconciled to God. We can still be forgiven once we repent and stuff like that. So it's not every bad action that I do that I'm going to suffer a bad consequence because of God's mercy. So part of it is, and I would say, anti the gospel, but I do understand how, I guess, elements of it can make sense. Like, again, if I do the good thing of studying for my exam and I go and take my exam, the good thing that's going to come back to me is I'm going to pass.
Right.
Right. So that's kind of how I see it.
Yeah.
And I do think, like, you do reap what you sow, and I do think God rewards us as well for the good that we do. I just don't think it's as simple as the idea of karma.
Because there is, like, Proverbs, wisdom. Sorry, Louis, you're gonna come in.
No, go for it.
Like, there are like wisdom principles that even apply, like probably unbelievers can even apply. You know what I mean? They're not necessarily like rewards, that benefits that will only be incurred by believers. Like, you know, Proverbs when it refers to even diligence in work, that is something that can be applied. And I mentioned that Galatians, that was a bit cheeky, because look, I agree with Femi, because I think anytime Bible talks about okay, let me start this way. I think there's two reasons why, karma, as we understand it today, probably is incompatible with the Christian faith. Is firstly, I think, look, end of the day, we don't actually deserve good. So even the concept falls, because, like, bro, like, you're speaking good. What is good? Like, as a Christian, as Christ did, what is good is the will of the Father for our lives. And so that I mean, if you're not hoping that for your life, then we would probably suggest that you're not focusing on living a life that's actually like God honoring. It's probably self honoring. And secondly, like, God's providence in all things. I think karma tries to, at least in its like the way it's applied today, I think we prefer to say it wants to usurp that. It wants to almost say, despite what's happening, if I do X, Y, and Z, I can, you know, transform my life or whatever into X, Y, and Z. But actually, God's providence will dictate that the rain falls on the just and unjust, and you might not know why. We mentioned Psalm 73. Yes, the wicked sometimes, it looks like they're getting away with stuff. And who knows the counsel of God? Who can ask him questions, right? But we do know for the Christian, ultimately, the good will come. So in a sense, like, having faith in Christ, our destiny is set, no matter how much we may look in this world. And that's why we don't look for this world for, like, our ultimately blessings, karma, blah, 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 blah.
Yeah, so I just wanted to piggyback off that.
Yeah.
So even
I like that. That's another one. Piggyback.
there we go.
Piggyback is a good one.
Segue. There we go.
Segue. Let me plant my flag.
Yeah, so just a segue back to what I was saying. So again, the idea of good things happening, fair enough, but then also bad things can also happen to good people. So you look at Job, for example, who, like God said, he was a good guy. He was just doing his job. He had his family. He was taking
He deserved all the karma. Good karma.
Good karma, yeah. And then all of a sudden, bang, 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 all of that happens. And then bang, 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 God gives it tenfold, you know, restores everything tenfold. It has nothing to do with Job.
Do you know the cartoon series, animation series Superbook?
Oh, is that a Christian? Yeah. That sounds so familiar. Superbook.
Yeah. I only mentioned because
that sounds mad familiar.
Bro, YouTube it. Trust me. It's some of the episodes are live. So they depict like Bible stories for kids. So it's like animation, but they're like usually quite they're actually quite faithful. And
Do you
quite
remember
helpful.
Superbook?
Obviously,
Sorry.
some of the stories I personally want to watch the Jesus one. I'm trying to see Jesus. Yeah, beautiful. But like Old Testament ones especially. Now I saw Job on Sunday at friends when let's put on Job. I love Superbook more than my son does. He's free.
From Breaking Bad to Superbook.
And the Job episode was a mad one.
Is it?
Satan's looking like one Aryan thing turns into one black demon thing.
Wow.
I was a bit like, this is the wrong episode to introduce people to Superbook too. But honestly, check out Superbook.
I'm about to check it out.
Nah, it's so good. The Samuel story, Eli, amazing.
I do remember
Naaman,
it vaguely.
amazing.
I vaguely remember.
Nah, you need to watch it.
It's on the list.
Guys, well, I'm thinking 10 minutes. What are we saying?
What? How many questions you got?
10 minutes left.
10 minutes left.
Quickly.
We got one about a person who does wicked things over and over again.
Okay, what's that one?
We got a Chat GPT one.
Yeah, that one I don't know.
We got are all sins
The same.
the same?
Something about money in there, wasn't there?
Yeah, and we got how would you speak to a person who you felt was stingy, ungenerous, or tight-fisted with money in ways which felt ungodly? This usually shows itself in planning events for family and friends. It's quite. I feel like an agony aunt with that one. So what's your vote, lads?
I don't mind.
Yeah, it's a tough one.
Number on the screen, dial in, see which question.
I don't mind.
So we got Chat GPT. We got someone repeatedly wicked all the time, never apologizing. That's another dimension, that question. We got stingy, even for family events. And we got are all sins the same?
We're picking 2 or 1?
One.
One, yeah.
Definitely, I would say definitely not the wicked one, just because we just spoke about
Okay, fair.
that. So we can scrap that one.
Okay.
I think, yeah, let's have some variety. So if
So I would say either stingy or
Chat
Chat
GPT.
GPT. Yeah.
ChatGPT.
Chat GPT?
Yeah.
Yeah, let's go for it.
You man, what is Chat GPT?
Are we go straight into it?
Yeah, let's go.
straight
Okay, let's read it. So they're saying to us that we should actually use. So someone wrote in saying, Black Berea, you man, use Chat GPT, come up with a sermon, use it to come up with a sermon, and then grade it to see how biblically sound it is. So we're not going to do that right now, but we could just talk about AI and Chat GPT more generally. I'm fascinated by this because I love like seeing how would the church respond to X, and this is a new thing that I'm not sure we will how to respond to. So I guess definitions, guys. AI, Chat GPT.
AI stands for Allen Iverson. I'm joking. Shout out to my basketball fans.
Real NBA fan.
Shout out to my basketball fans. That's the real AI.
76.
That was the AI before.
2000 to
That was the AI
2005.
before AI. You get
I'm
me?
finished.
The answer, Allen Iverson.
Finished.
The real answer.
The real answer. AI, artificial intelligence.
Are you any man into tech?
Not overly. You
I
are.
wouldn't say into it per se, but I do
you
use
dabble.
ChatGPT. Yeah.
Hey.
I use it at work.
No, they come to take all of our jobs. They need to go back to the country. AI.
Back to where they came
Back
from.
to-
But they've been
back to where it
saying
came
that
from.
since. But
Since, yeah.
okay, but supermarket you see it, I guess, because of the self checkouts.
Self checkouts and that. Yeah.
But apart from that, okay, I don't know all the industries, but I don't.
Are they driving trucks here? Aren't they like driving trucks?
Bro, no
in
flying
America?
cars.
I
In
mean,
America.
Yeah, but who's really?
The trains, DLR.
coming soon.
DLR's been AI since
Yeah.
Bang East London done
DLR
no
was
DLR.
way
I've literally lived on a DLR back in the day.
I very rarely get DLR.
It's way ahead.
what
But yeah,
else?
no. So I was like, I use ChatGPT at work. It's so cool, honestly. Like you could
So
be trying to
what
do
is it?
bits
Yeah.
of code, and you'll stick your code in and say, "Why is this not working?" And it'll just bang, 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 bang. This is why your code is not working. This is what you should be doing. I'm like,
So basically,
It's
taking
wild.
your job. Like,
it's taking my job basically.
yeah,
Yeah,
basically. Okay. They don't.
Right in front of my eyes.
They don't actually know you. They actually don't need you.
So do we know like I'm assuming you don't know the extent to which this has like potential, or are we still like trying to understand?
I think there's a spectrum. So you got some people out there saying it's going to take 300 million jobs by 2030, and everyone's going to be out
It's
of a
not far
job.
away, you know.
That's what I'm saying. What we got like 6
2 years ago.
Bro, that's not far.
Yo.
But then you've got a lot of people that are like, oh yeah, it can funnel into the world that we live in and has its benefits. So when I think of AI in general, I think of like the rise of like social media back in the day. So like obviously we were only teens when social media was beginning to pop, but it has its pros and cons, right? Like there's so much benefits from social media in the world that we live in. It's changed the world basically, and AI has that potential. If not, it's already beginning to change the world as we see it. And I see it the same way. It has its benefits, but also there's a danger. So, for example, like the whole church sermon idea. If you want to preach a sermon at church and you just go into Chat GPT and say write a sermon, like first of all, how biblically sound is it? Second of all, it takes the work out of the pastor doing the work to labour hard for the congregation.
Oh, question. What if it isn't a pastor? What if it's like just someone in the congregation that was just asked to preach, and they was like, is that bad? Like, would it be bad? Like,
if they use Chat GPT,
they're not getting paid by the church. Like maybe the pastor, he's getting paid by the church. So you
because
spend time writing
the question is like, is the element of labour important? I think that's part of the question. And also, more so for the pastor. I don't think I don't know. So I'm being careful. I don't know where it's gonna end up. AI and like sermon prep, but it's something about me. Bro, but it's something I'm thinking like, because even the sermon needs to be shaped around the congregation.
Okay.
Chat GPT don't know the members like that.
Yeah, okay, that's a good argument.
There's limitations.
That's a good argument, I guess.
Applications. What the applications go?
Well, okay. What if Chat GPT did the bulk of the sermon, and then the pastor just filled in the little bits where you can apply it to the church, the congregation. So, like, okay, scenario: pastor's preaching on Job. Since we've been talking about Job, right? He's got Chat GPT to do the bulk of the sermon, but he's added little tidbits. He's added little bits here and there. He's reviewed it. He's even sent it to his elders and said, "Look, this is the sermon I'm about to preach on Sunday." So he's reviewed it. He just didn't write the majority of it. Is that bad? And this is the pastor, the senior pastor that's getting paid.
I'm not comfortable.
I'm not in that position. I can't really say.
I'm not.
If you're not comfortable, you got to give a reason why. Why?
Because at the end of the day, like I think there is a sense in which congregation has a trust the pastor to be using their time to studying the scriptures for the benefit of the church.
Okay.
Getting to a better understanding of the scriptures for the benefit of the church, whether that's through counseling, the preaching, whatever. I think it's difficult to be confident that a pastor is still giving himself study of the word.
Okay, that's good.
When he's got Chat GPT.
That's a good argument. That's a good argument.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
pastor, what about this? Give me a second.
I hear that.
I'm missing the one-to-one counseling.
Okay, I do hear that, but so if he's doing all the other stuff, so counselling, being there for his church,
but he needs to be in the word to do all that stuff.
But on top of that, I think each pastor has their own preaching style, and they're kind of known for their style of preaching.
Yeah, my preaching style is AI, Chat GPT. That's my style now. That's my new style.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just trying to think if I would even tell anyone.
That's the main thing.
And that's the thing. If say that happened and you're a member, how do you feel?
So
all this time,
Chat GPT.
last week you were doing a mad thing in your study. All this time, you just putting 2 words in it.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Input.
But what about then? Would it be wrong for a pastor to preach someone else's sermon? Like, and they were open about it. Like, oh, this sermon was written by someone else.
I'm sure pastors borrow that. No one is that original.
Yeah, no, I'm saying like they preached it. Like,
I get
word
you.
for word.
What if my pastor was ill and I stepped in for him and preached his sermon? Is that what you mean?
No,
or do you mean in general?
Yeah, that would be perfectly reasonable. I'm saying the actual pastor, like a pastor witnessed a sermon or a sermon back in the day when he was young,
Just copied and pasted
that he just really loved, and he thought, oh, my congregation would love this.
I don't know if that's wrong.
And he was honest about it. It was like, no, this sermon was not written by me. It was written by my man back in the day.
Don't make it a habit.
Probably not. Habit. That's interesting.
I mean? But I think
I agree with you guys, by the way. But it's just interesting. I'm trying to think.
This is the tension that I'm looking forward to seeing. Hopefully, we have answers as a church.
Yeah.
God give us wisdom.
So, Louis, then someone that knows a bit more about AI and stuff like that, where do you think the church could benefit for something like ChatGPT or AI in general? Where do you
good question.
Where do you think there are benefits?
Don't know. I don't know. I think I think the world in general. I just hope it doesn't impact our ability to just sit and think for ourselves and just do things for ourselves. I think that's the biggest thing. I'm thinking. Just how it can benefit the church. Don't know.
Trying to think of something.
I'm trying to think something obvious.
Writing worship songs. I honestly writing hymns.
But I think
ChatGPT writing him.
Why not? I think it's possible.
Yeah, writing him. If it bangs, it bangs, bro.
I think it's possible. But who like obviously a bit of a side question, but who owns the rights to that song?
Good shout.
I don't know that.
That's a good point.
That's a very good. Yeah.
Who owns the rights?
It'd have to be them, right?
The church or ChatGPT? Who's Chat GPT?
Is in OpenAI. That's the
Like who is like? Is that? Does it all go back down to someone in one cloud somewhere?
Yeah.
I don't know, man. I'm not comfortable. Me, iRobot things.
I is iRobot, isn't it?
But any of the tech guys listening, I'm sure they can write in.
Maybe we need a tech session. Louis and a couple man just chop it up.
I'm lost.
I'm not that heavy on tech, you know. By the way,
you're more heavy tech.
In this room, I might be.
Yeah, you're the tech. You're the tech guy in this room. So
my tech is literally, I don't know, streaming.
AI is taking over the world.
Amazon Prime is my tech. That's
my tech is FIFA.
That's the first time I ever heard about AI. You know, like video games. Like, you know, like just trying to figure out like how does it's like when you're young, innit? It's like how does when you're playing against a computer, when you're playing against a computer, how does it know what I'm gonna do? Like how does it? Even I was even thinking about like Football Manager. I don't know if you guys play Football Manager.
I used to rinse
and how like detailed Football Manager is, and how like I think it was on Filthy Fellas. They were talking about like Wonder Kids and do they end up developing the same way on each person's game. Each person plays the game, and there's a one kid develop each. I was like, like how much AI is in a game like Football Manager?
Order of songs, maybe in church.
Order of songs,
like, it depends on the sermon.
Or if you ask AI to write an order of service, just pop one out quickly, and then we'll
work out.
Maybe the thing is, I think if it's going to benefit the world, I don't see why it can't benefit the church in some way, shape, or form.
Yeah, I heard that.
But I don't know.
Oh, by the way, I should have said though, because I'm thinking, as a guy, I think of all the time when I think of Christians are trying to apply Christian worldview to like social phenomenons, wherever they are. John Stott in the book Issues Facing Christians Today, it was written in the 70s, but it's like still principles that he have.
They didn't have AI in the
thing. They were battling with like race tension, nuclear, the threat of nuclear. But the principles he applies are very good. And there's another book, Francis Schaeffer, on ecology. So Christians and like environment, they have like good principles for how just Christians should approach sort of social issues. But that's one thing I just so fascinated by. But who knows, man?
Yeah,
God knows.
Good question.
What we saying, man? Them.
That's it, man.
Yeah. While I was away, these man 1 hour and a half, 2 hour podcast.
It wasn't that long, man. It wasn't that long. By the way, rest in peace, Tim Keller.
We need to do something though, because I don't know if you man were listened like as far back as when Israel used to have like a Keller count, or they had a Keller count for Israel.
Oh, I think
because you always used to quote Keller.
Tim Keller,
we definitely need to reflect on Keller, because this is saying someone the other day as well. I think Kim Keller was like the next stage of a lot of people, and I feel in their reform journey. I think he was like the next stage. I feel like we entered, a few people I know, we entered it like, you know, serious as we should have, but maybe from a very small number of preachers. And then as we began to understand the text for ourselves more, we were more confident to engage with people who thought about issues like justice, like morality, like apologetics, like, as Keller did, as opposed to that just sort of the hardcore reform doctrine. But I think we should definitely think about doing something on Keller.
Yeah, it's funny. One thing I loved about Keller was the way he responded to people on Twitter.
Yeah, for real.
He would get pelters from left and right, and he was so gracious in his response. Firm. He knew how to respond.
He knew how to respond.
Yeah. Shout out to him, man. Shout out to him.
He's done his work. His work is done. Glory. Nice way to end.
Yep.
Yes, sir.
Enjoy the rest of your day, people. Wherever you're doing, whether it's going to bed, whether it's finishing that drive. Enjoy your day. It's been real. Louis, thanks for joining us.
Thank you. No worries.
Crossway gang, shout out Crossway.
You got a little church shout out in
Crossway Stratford.
Shout Crossway Stratty.
If you're looking for a church, come through.
Yeah, come.
All right, peace. See you later.
Oh.